Mayor, we're ready when you are.
All right, thank you, everyone. Welcome to Cathedral City Civic Center, and this is the regular meeting of the Cathedral City Council. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2026. We're going to start this meeting off with a Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Gordon, and then please remain standing for an invocation by Councilmember Lamb. Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we begin our meeting today, remember that our purpose here is to fill our cups, literally and metaphorically, so we might have more to give to others. So we might be able to do more to spread opportunity and love and, yes, gratitude out into our world. Whether you take an individual action or a collective effort, whether you make a grand gesture or offer a small kindness, remember that you have a responsibility to do something good with the opportunities you've been given. Otherwise, we make nothing of the opportunities we have both earned and been lucky enough to receive. Last Sunday was Mother's Day, and as my mother and grandmother always used to say, and I say now, in remembrance of them, savor this moment. Whatever comes next, it won't be this.
You may be seated. Thank you, Councilmember Gordon and Councilmember Lamb.
Welcome.
The next item on our agenda is our roll call.
Councilmember Gordon?
Here.
Councilmember Ross?
Here.
Councilmember Lamb?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Here.
Mayor Gregory?
Here. All right, the next item is agenda finalization. Are there any changes to this agenda?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to pull item 3I off the consent calendar for a brief discussion.
All right, we will hear 3I separately after the remainder of the consent calendar is heard. All right, next item on our agenda is a good one. It's a special presentation for National Public Works Week. City Manager.
Indeed it is. So John Corella is here to lead off this presentation. John?
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, on behalf of my staff, Deanna Pressgrove, who runs our Environmental, Public Works, and Fleet Management divisions, Armando Baldizone, your city engineer, and myself, I'd like to pass the lectern to our own Andrew Lee, who is a board member on our Coachella Valley branch of the American Public Works Association. Andrew.
Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Director Corella. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem City Council members, and members of the community. My name is Andrew Lee, and I work in the engineering department here for the city of Cathedral City, and I also serve on the board of the American Public Works Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight as you recognize next week's National Public Works Week and the essential role that public works plays in our lives. Public works is often described as the backbone of a community, and for good reason. It's the infrastructure that you rely on every day, but may not always see. The roads you travel on, the traffic signals that keep you moving safely, the storm drains that protect our neighborhoods, and the facilities that keep our city operating safely and efficiently. Here in Cathedral City, that work takes on added importance, whether it's maintaining infrastructure in the extreme desert heat, supporting reliable utility services, or preparing for storm events that can impact our community. These are challenges that require constant attention, expertise, and dedication. But what truly defines public works is not just the infrastructure, it's the people behind it. Tonight, we are fortunate to have members of our Public Works Department here with us. These are the field crews, technicians, operators, and engineers who are out early in the morning, late at night, and sometimes in the middle of emergencies, making sure our community continues to function safely and reliably. With that being said, I would like to take a moment to recognize our Public Works Department and Engineering Division. So if you could join me up here. and on behalf of the Public Works Department and the American Public Works Association, thank you to the City Council for your continued support and recognizing National Public Works Week. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew. If you would just stay right there, the city council will be coming down to join you. Officially proclaiming May 17th and 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week in the city of Cathedral City.
Okay, get in the photo. Let's squeeze in a little bit tighter. Big group. Okay, I think we've got everybody now.
Good job, short and sweet.
Very nice. We appreciate them.
Green, if I get a choice. Oh, thank you. Green's Ernesto. Ernesto. Jolly Rancher.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. The next item on our agenda is public comments. This is the time on our agenda for members of the public to make comments on items that are not on our agenda. We will just remind you, you will be limited to 3 minutes, and members of the public, please be respectful. Do not cheer or jeer or make comments, audible comments during public comments or after. We want everyone to feel comfortable being able to make public comments. Are there any speaker cards?
Mayor, we do have one. The speaker is Yasmin Espinoza.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi. Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor. I come today because I'm still shaken up about it. Today, our city was raped. And when I talk about that, I talk about what happened with ICE today and bounty hunters.
Hi, everyone. This
Whoops,
is Michelle,
sorry,
the
sorry.
Coachella Valley organizer.
Sorry. ICE today and Border Patrol and bounty hunters took a vehicle and a couple of agents to detain one of our city citizens. The agents grabbed him, bruised him, cut him, tried to pull him out of his vehicle. If it wasn't for the help of 2 women dropping off their kids at the high school today, they probably would have been a worse situation than it did turn out. It is on video, it's gone on all media sites. He was documented. They wouldn't even let him get his document. The second man was documented, and they wouldn't let him get his document. If it wasn't for these women standing up and getting involved, blocking their cars, getting in there, and you see their hands pulling away from the agents to help this man. This is horrible. This man needs to make a police report. He needs to be taken. He did. Thank you. He was beat up. It's sad to see a citizen. As a Mexican-American citizen in your community, I am scared. I'm still shaking from this afternoon. We did a small protest. We went to Palm Springs today. Supervisor Perez was there with us. We want to report ICE to a number at 909-361-4588 so we can get immediate documentation to you. If you're in the community, we are scared. We have the right to document, to videotape, and photograph. People should not be scared to go to school, work, or church. And we're seeing this on a daily escalation in your community. I know you can't do anything. Your city managers aren't doing anything. You guys can't do anything. Your police force can't do anything. We don't know where to turn to. It's going to get uglier. They're supposed to hit Indio harder tomorrow. They hit us pretty hard today. They hit the Hocachella Valley. At 19 were arrested today. 2 were in Cathedral City. I do a documenting of it every morning so people can get to the grocery stores and they can do things. But even then, they change vehicles, they change license plates. The bounty hunters are worse. They have Nazi tattoos, they have different shirt emblems, their faces are covered. It's hard to even identify some of them, but we wait for their actions and we see it. So yes, me as a citizen, it is bothering me. And I hope sometime we can help, and you can help us with those vehicles that are being repossessed. Maybe the tow truck drivers don't have to charge these families. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for sharing with us.
Mayor, that is all I have.
All right, anyone in the audience wishing to make a public comment on a non-agenda item? All right, seeing none, we'll move on with our agenda. The next item is council reports, and we will start with Councilmember Gordon.
Okay, well, in addition to National Public Works Week, it's also Mental Health Awareness Month and Asian American Pacific Islander Month. So I just want to take a moment to recognize those two things, the critical element that mental health plays in our community, in our city, in our nation. And we just heard from somebody who had a pretty traumatic experience today, and I think it does us all well to consider not only our own mental health, but the mental health of our community in times like this, where things like this are happening. So we don't need a month, I think, to recognize it, but I do think having a recognition month gives us the opportunity to really reflect on those priorities and the way that we prioritize that as a city. And then in terms of Asian American Pacific Islander Month, I just want to recognize that and all the contributions of the Asian American and Pacific Islander population in our city, in our valley, to our country. So starting with that, I have a lot to go over this last period. We had 3 weeks, and it was busy, and it was full, and it was fun. On the 26th, as I mentioned at the last meeting, I hosted a meet and greet with Patsy and with Andy at Nick's Bistro. It was a packed house. We met a lot of people in the community. It was really, it was a lot of fun for a Sunday morning. Commissioners from the PACE Commission, Aaron Highland and Angel Herrera were there, as well as Planning Commissioner Danielle Mead. So it was a great show out, as well as the mayor of Coachella. So we had a really good showing for our meet and greet, and we met and we greeted. Then I went on, I think it was the following Tuesday, to the homeless outreach event that Officer Novi put together. I cannot tell you how proud I was of Cathedral City seeing that event. I saw Councilmember Ross there, and I just want to share the story that you shared at the State of the City yesterday, Mayor. Officer Mendez with Code Compliance, I was talking to him at the event, and he said, I think we're going to get somebody housed today. And what happened was he had on his day off, gone out and flyered with a bunch of the unhoused in our community to make sure that they were able to be there. He also worked closely to get the Veterans Association there to help get people housed. And when he met this veteran, he brought him right over to the Veterans Association and helped this person get in a home that very day. And, sorry, that's public service. So I want to commend Officer Novi, Officer Mendez for making me proud of Cathedral City every day. Sorry. Then, the next day, I went to the State of the City video shoot. You all saw that video yesterday, so I'll let you judge that for an Emmy performance. And I went to the Taste of Jalisco flag raising with the mayor and the council. That weekend, I participated in Taste of Jalisco events. I observed the tequila tasting. I did not participate in that, though I think a good time was had by all who did do the tequila tasting. And then last week, I met with Fire Chief to go over the strategic plan, as well as his plans for the strategic plan and what he's looking to do moving forward. I went to the Desert Business Association Awards. I saw Mayor Gregory present an award to, was Michael and Ernie? Yes, our friends Michael and Ernie with GED Magazine, very well deserved. I then went to, let's see, I had a meeting the following day with planning, economic development, code enforcement, and I just, again, I am blown away by the city staff and the depth of knowledge and competence and dedication that our staff consistently provide and make sure that we as a council have the information that we need to be successful governors of this city. And so I just want to thank everyone for that. Later that evening, I went to the Cinco de Mayo celebration at the Senior Center. I saw Councilmember Lamb there. It was a really cool intergenerational celebration. I don't know if your council remembers, but the high school Rotary came and invited us. So there were high school students and performers. In addition to, obviously, the seniors at the Senior Center. There was a dinner, there was music, and it was just a wonderful celebration. Then I went to the ribbon cutting at the Barbara Eberhardt Gallery on Perez Road. It is always exciting to see our new businesses, and the art galleries on Perez Road are especially fun because the art community is just so vibrant, and the Barbara Eberhardt Gallery is not an exception to that. Thursday and Friday last week, I went to, with all of the members of the City Council and the mayor, to the SCAG conference, which is the Southern California Association of Governments, which is a regional conference where we met with folks from all across Southern California. We heard incredible presentations from experts, students, leaders. The depth of knowledge there, again, was just really phenomenal. It was a great opportunity to learn alongside fellow council members, leaders, and public servants. That evening, I went to the Boys and Girls Club of Cathedral City's Youth and Community Awards. I went to so many awards last week. I think everyone I know got some sort of award in Cathedral City, which is another thing that I really love, is seeing how we celebrate excellence in this community. And speaking of excellence in this community, I went to Esperanza Rising last Saturday, and it was another beautiful example. I saw Councilmember Ross, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez. There were student performers who, in 100-degree heat, were in full regalia, doing all kinds of dances and singing and just bringing their little hearts all to the performances in our community. It's a beautiful park, and I was, again, proud to be there. On Monday, I went to the swearing in of the new deputy fire chief. And we were really pleased to welcome him to our city. And then yesterday, I was at the State of the City with the rest of the city council. And that was my big few weeks. So thanks, everybody.
Well, thank you very much. Very, very busy 3 weeks.
Very
And
busy.
next, we'll hear from Councilmember Ross.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I am genuinely proud of each of our council members, what we do. We are always hopping around. It's kind of hard to keep track of us. But we are also on top of our daily work. I personally represent you at the CVAG Energy and Sustainability Commission and the CVAG Conservation Commission, where I represent Supervisor Manny Perez. On the Riverside County Animal Campus, where I've served as board chair since 2024, I represent our city at Sunline Transit, and as a trustee at the Mosquito and Vector Control District. I'm a newly appointed member of Southern California Edison Council, and I continue to learn from each of these agencies and bring that knowledge back to us right here in Cathedral City. And not just learn from them, I try to get things from them for our city. You know, come do this, make a presentation, show people how to lower their bills, things like that. I also attend a monthly Do the Right Thing program where kids from different schools in our area are awarded a prize package of more than $700 each. After being nominated by their teacher, we provide a certificate to them as well. Coming together with council members and mayors from many cities at the Palm Desert Civic Center, we each were honored to read 10 names in the memory of Riverside County residents whose lives were taken during acts of violence. It was a very moving evening. I have attended 2 ribbon cuttings of many in our city, thanks to our Ignite program, who support our small businesses in a variety of important ways. As was told, Mayor Pro Tem Christina and I presented opening marks at the Esperanza Rising and at the park, and the crowd had more than doubled since the last time we met, which I think was just a month before. Also in attendance were commissioners, as well as our Assistant City Manager, Ann. Thank you so much. A big thanks goes out to the Recreation District for their invaluable support. They successfully made these important events happen. I attended a gallery presentation at Scrap Gallery. We all were at the State of the City, as was told, and we are in great shape with a big thanks to Ryan, Adam, and their team for presenting such a quality event. Thank you guys very much. I attended alongside Councilmember Gordon, and she mentioned it, the homeless event in our city. Our recent solicitation of folks, and I think this is an important one, for our upcoming commission appointments that are vacant. It has brought out the largest number of applicants we've ever had. We're all excited about interviewing these folks, and we will do our best to bring you the best of our community meetings. I can't even speak. Our community members, let's try that again, who are willing to give up their time and energy to continue making Cathedral City a great place to live, work, and play. And to end on an exceptionally higher note, if that is even possible, I attended the Sunline Transit Barbecue. It was yummy, it was fun, and it was great to hang out with those folks who make the wheels roll every day. I am honored to work with them and with you. All the time I get with you, I'll take it. Thank you very much. That concludes my comments.
Very nice. Thank you for being such a great representative of our council and our city.
Thank you.
And next up is Councilmember Lamb.
Great. Thank you so much. I also wanted to comment about the Homeless Outreach Resource Center. And I was able to be there at the end of it, about the last hour and a half, and walked around with Officer Novi. But we were, I mean, the variety of people and the resources that are available to the unsheltered community is amazing, and the outreach. Thank you so much to Chief Sanchez for spearheading this, because it was still lots of people and receiving services. There was a medical, they were getting vaccinations, flu vaccines, and all sorts of things that are not readily available were it not for a mobile resource center like this. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Seeing the breadth and scope of what you do was really amazing. Terrific. The Cathedral City High School Band, I'm a big supporter of the band, and Matt Howe is the band director. They went on their trip to Costa Rica, and they wanted to make sure that they had Cathedral City pins so that the folks that they knew that where they were from. Tonight is their spring concert, and unfortunately we can't be there because we've got this. But if you get an opportunity to support the Cathedral City High School Band, do so. I had an opportunity to attend Open Call, which is the amateur talent in the desert. And Kaisa Thurston Frary has been the education outreach coordinator, and she put this together, and it's been 18 or 20 years in the making. And one of our Cathedral City High School students, Chris Frias Torres, won Best Instrumentalist. So the band is really phenomenal, so if you're looking for some good music, check out the high school band. Wonderful. I can't remember who mentioned Erin Highland, and she is our PACE coordinator. But I happened to be watching the local Channel 3 News, and there was Erin speaking so proudly of her involvement and her advocacy for the Leadership Academy Coachella. You know, we talk about the breadth and scope of what we do as council people. The commissioners also get around. She's also does the Read With Me sponsorship programs, that's free movies and popcorn and free books for our students, our kiddos, every Friday during the summer. And also she works with the Animal Campus. She fosters dogs. I mean, man, she's got a lot of energy. I want to find out what green drink she's taken because she's wonderful. Anyway, thank you. And at the SCAG conference, we were all recognized, and council persons in the past and mayors in the future for the CV link and all our advocacy for that. So that was a great activity. Get a drink of water here. This year, I'm the representative. Mayor Gregory has been in the past for the Public Safety Commission, and I'm now the representative for that. And this Monday, we met at 9 a.m., and we had a representative from the fire department there and the police department. But it was to see there, and I have to read this name, the Coachella Valley Real-Time Intelligence Center. And their mission is enhancing community safety through real-time data analysis and proactive policing. And Palm Springs Police Department was the recipient of a $4.5 million grant. And they have this, I mean, it's like you see in the movies, this fabulous room where they're able to really analyze the real-time data for any part of the Coachella Valley. And provide specific services. So it really was fantastic. And all of us in the commission were down there for at least an hour and a half tour for that. So, you know, if they have an open house in the future, they probably don't. It's not a social gathering spot. But it's really eye-opening. And the fact that Cathedral City is part of this is so supportive for our police department, for our residents. Excellent. I am also represent the Coachella Valley Mountains Conservancy. And just for your information, there are only four people work at the Mountains Conservancy. And they do land acquisition for the multiple species habitat plan. And just this year, they've allocated $7,696,000 from Proposition 1 grant. And, you know, our mission with the taxpayer dollars is to preserve as much as we can of this beautiful desert, because that's why we live here. I also went to the ABC Recovery Center. Supervisor Perez has worked tirelessly to get some more funding for capital improvements for that facility. And as Councilmember Gordon was saying, you know, the mental health crisis is also a drug abuse crisis and alcohol abuse crisis. So we're supporting local agencies that, you know, help our residents and residents throughout the Coachella Valley is the way to go. If you have not seen your desert recreation booklet, I am the booklet person, but it's so wonderful that our community is part of this because Desert Recreation District offers a plethora. I have long, wanted to use that word in something, of activities using a variety of venues that are already in Cathedral City. So they're going to be using the gymnasium at the Salvation Army, the senior center. We have been using the pool at Cathedral City High School. Just a fantastic array of activities. Lots of them free. They have community events. They've got a splash day. They've got a community event at Dennis Keat Park. All the dates are in there, and they've got a popsicle event at Ocotillo. So much fun. They've got chair yoga and gentle yoga inside the Salvation Army Gymnasium. So these are all resources that you supported through Measure W. So thank you, thank you, thank you, because I'm going to be signing up for lots of them. And the last thing is, I went with, met him there, Eric Bessaril, who's our Economic Development Director, and we were at the automobile, the Auto Center monthly marketing meeting. And they are vital to our community. And, Eric and Victor both, when they do the ribbon cutting, they always hand out a chip, a casino chip, and says, you took a chance on us. They took a chance on us, many, many years ago. The desert, I was out here in 81, it was just all desert. There was nothing for miles. So they took a chance on Cathedral City, and they have a beautiful facility, and they work tirelessly to make sure that their lots are upgraded and everything is just wonderfully organized. So we can't help but support them, and it was a wonderful meeting this morning, and they were at the State of the City, and they said, well done, Mayor Gregory and Council. So, it was a nice job and a nice feedback, so it was wonderful. And I think that is it. Done.
Well, thank you. You've been very busy. I don't know what's going on with the technology noises. I think maybe because you mentioned technology, AI heard you, so they thought it was their turn. We'll get through it. All right. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Since we met, we celebrated Mother's Day. I hope every mother out there had a wonderful Mother's Day. And it's been almost 3 weeks since we met, and it seems like we have seen each other all the time. I feel like we're roommates almost, like we live together. Yeah. And I'm not going to mention a lot of the things that we did together. I'll just mention a couple of things that I did on my own. One of them that Councilmember Ross did not mention is we met with a business owner, a property owner named Jeff Christina. He wanted to meet with us, and he just wanted to let us know that his property, which is the old Burlington building, he's having a lot of issues and a lot of problems trying to sell it or to lease it. And he just wanted us to be abreast that since right now the city is going through its development zoning update to keep his property in mind. It's a large piece of property in the center of town, and to keep him in mind to see what can we do to help him develop that property or to sell it or do something with it. So that's all he wanted to do. And of course, I did meet with Ryan Hunt to do my video for the State of the City address. And I also met with Cynthia Schultz, our city manager, and our assistant city manager to go over the same development code update that we're going through. We summarized everything, and it was updated as to a few changes that are going on. And the rest is pretty much has been mentioned by the rest of the council members, from TESA Jalisco to State of the City address to SCAG. One thing that was not mentioned was on Sunday on TESA Jalisco, there was Lucha Libre, the Mexican wrestling. And our mayor was sitting at my table. Minutes after he left, he wasn't there to back me up. The wrestling actually took place right on my table. They were wrestling on my table. They knocked my drink down and everything, but it was interesting to watch. So that was fun. And of course, I also attended the Esperanza Park event. It was beautiful, like it was mentioned. All these kids were just having a great time dancing and with all their costumes. And it was hot, but it was beautiful to see all these kids that weather did not matter. And it was out of 3 or 4 events that I've been there, this was probably the busiest and the most people I've ever seen at that park. And it was nice to see it. It's a brand new park that Cathedral City just had the grand opening about a year ago. So it's beautiful. If you haven't had a chance to see it, you're welcome to just go by there. It's located in the Dream Homes neighborhood, and it abuts the CV Link and also the Cimarron Golf Course. And tomorrow, we're going to start to be busy again. I'll be attending the Harvey Milk breakfast, and I will also be attending a ribbon cutting ceremony. And on top of that, tomorrow as well, I'll be attending a Coachella Valley Association of Governments Conservation Commission meeting. And that's just the beginning. So a lot of times I attend many meetings in which other leaders of the Coachella Valley attend or should be attending. By far, it never happens that other cities, their full entire council, are at these events. And our city council is at most city events, all of us. So you should be proud that we do make an effort to represent you. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, it's been a very busy 3 weeks, it sounds like, for everyone. I will quickly go over some things. Many of them are a little bit different because we all represent the city in different ways in different commissions and groups. Immediately after the last meeting, I did attend a Riverside County Transportation Commission meeting. You'll hear me say this a lot because they have a lot of activities going on just like the city does. And this year, since I'm the chair there, I'm very busy, but I attended their Budget and Implementation Committee meeting. That was on Monday, April 27th. And then later that day was the Coachella Valley Association of Governments Executive Committee, where a lot of the things are formally approved that many of you work on all of your different committees. So thank you. We get to see the work there. There was, in particular, some funding increases for the Monroe I-10 interchange and for that bridge you see in Palm Springs going on South Palm Canyon. Although those projects are all over the valley, part of the Measure A and other grant dollars are shared here in the valley. So they support our projects and we get an opportunity to weigh in and support theirs with the money that CVAG has accumulated. An item that was brought up there that I wanted to make sure the council was aware, there has been a proposal from the 29 Palms Band of Mission Indians. They are members of CVAG's, and they have a seat on most of the committees, including the executive committee, but they rarely attend. In fact, I think it was 4 or 5 years they've been on the executive committee, they've only attended one other time. They have made a proposal that the CVAG Joint Powers Agreement be amended to allow either tribal members or particular members or everybody to appoint staff as an alternate instead of the actual governing body member on the executive committee as it sits now, except for the Board of Supervisors. The only voting members that can be the member or the alternate have to be an elected member of the governmental body. That way they're accountable to the voters is what I'm told that the thought is. They explained that some of the tribes, in particular, 29 Palms is a good example, their tribal council only has 2 people. And they only have, I think, 20 or 22 members of their tribe, and most of those are minors. So it can be problematic. There was no change proposed in particular at the time, but CVAG will be looking at it because as you play out the scenarios, they can become problematic in some of those. We do want to have an executive committee that is responsible in some way to voters here in the governments that make up the body. Of course, the argument is that the employees are reportable to their board or their tribal board or a city council, and so in that way they would be indirectly accountable. But I know CVAG and Executive Committee wants to find a way to be fair and to promote greater representation by all of the members, but to make sure that we don't in some way take an action that is detrimental to the actual structure of that governing body. So you may hear more about that. If that is, a proposal is approved in CVAG, it would have to come to each of the member cities for approval, and then you would see a full presentation. But I wanted to at least put that on your radar. So if you should hear about it, that you know that no decision was made. But CVAG's staff and the executive committee are trying to think through all of the different scenarios that could be adopted. So that may be coming back to you. All right, and then on April 28th, I did, as part of my chair of the Transportation Commission duties, I did travel out with some other local government representatives to the State Route 60 Potrero interchange. They had a groundbreaking of the ramp project. If you've gone on, most of us have gone to West I-10, turned on the 60, there is a bridge that was built the last several years. That's Potrero Boulevard, but there were no ramps built. And that part of that, as we can understand, is they didn't have all of the funding to do the whole project. It is a city project, but as often happens, the city doesn't have the capacity right now to take on a big construction project like that to manage it. So they have asked the Transportation Commission to take that over, and the city is providing funding and grant funding for all of that. But they had a groundbreaking, and in my duties, I got tasked with being kind of the MC of that groundbreaking. So I went out and did that. It was an honor, and it's always good, of course, for the cities throughout the Coachella, or throughout Riverside County, including the Coachella Valley, but far beyond, to have us there representing our city. And then the next day I went back to Beaumont again. I don't know what is about Beaumont and me that week, but I think I had mentioned before that the Transportation Commission had a teletown hall, and I had kind of described what it is, where the automation automatically calls you, those annoying calls you get on your phone, and asks you if you'd like to stay on the line to hear about traffic and traffic relief plan and those kind of things. So this one, we did one a few weeks ago in, I think right before the last meeting, it was in Palm Desert. This one was in Beaumont, and it actually called people on the western half of the county. So it always surprises me that several thousand people listen to this, at least for some time, and then even by the end, after more than an hour, there were still a couple hundred people on the line, many of them submitting questions and getting their questions answered. So it's interesting to just kind of talk to the microphone like you're talking to people. And there was, this time the panel was the executive director of the Riverside Transit Agency and one of the directors from the county transportation. And then, of course, the executive director, Aaron Hake, of the Riverside County Transportation Commission, and me being the MC, asking the questions and clarifying everything. So quite an experience. And then, fortunately, I was able to have more fun that weekend. Has already been shared. It was the Taste of Jalisco festival here in Cathedral City. Of course, thanks for everything go out to Ryan and Adam and his crew. Also, Sound Skills, our producer, did a great job at that event. I attended the flag raising and also the Shakira and the Santana tribute concerts at the next night, and there was a presentation. Thank you, Council, for joining me on stage so that we could thank the community and the producers, and of course also announce the tequila tasting winner. So, and thank you everyone that participated in that. And then that next Monday, I attended an ad hoc committee meeting for the Coachella Valley Association of Governments on cash flow. You've probably heard in many of your committees or otherwise that cash is a problem. Cash flow has been a problem in trying to get some of these transportation in particular projects finished. So CVAG has formed an ad hoc committee. It has a few elected officials, and then it's made up of some city managers and public works directors from some of the different cities. It's an ad hoc, so it doesn't have any one body or any one majority of people that would make a majority on another voting body. But we're kind of going over what changes could be made to help with the cash flow. Things that are being discussed are perhaps there's a review of the mitigation fee, the transportation uniform mitigation fee that all of the cities in the Coachella Valley charge the same on that fee, and that money goes over to CVAG for projects. It's hasn't been, much as our own fees hadn't been reviewed in years, it hasn't been reviewed in years, and when it was reviewed last time, there was a decision to discount it sharply, so it's just a fraction of what the fee is on the other end of the county, and those are the fees that are supposed to go to these transportation projects all over, and so that's one of the things. They're also talking about when there is a project in a city, having cities pay a higher share of the local share. I'm not a fan of that. I don't feel like it's equal because all of the cities in the Coachella Valley aren't in the same financial picture as the others. In fact, some of the ones in the Eastern Valley that may be worse off financially are the ones where more of the projects need to go. So I'm not a fan of that one, but it is on the table for discussion, and there are other possible funding scenarios being discussed. So that discussion will continue. And then that same day, as has already been said, I was honored to be at the Desert Business Association's Impact Awards. I was also honored to be able to go up and present the Business Owners of the Year Award to Michael and Ernie Westman from GE Magazine and Montage Events. They also work closely with the city and are under a regular contract and often tapped for our communications events. So it was a great honor to be able to present them with that very well-deserved award. Very quickly, I did attend, of course, the ribbon cutting at the Barbara Eberhardt Gallery, the Perez Arts District. It was great. I attended Thursday only of the SCAG Regional Conference. That was where the business was taken care of. I did represent the city as the voting member there, as is customary, and then also was able to go on stage for I went on stage for one award, but not the CVAG award. I did take my picture at the end with them, but I also was called up because Riverside County Transportation Commission was involved in a joint venture with San Bernardino County and received an award there too. There was this thing last Tuesday, State of the City. Thank you, everyone. Again, Ryan and Adam, another great event, a great job. Jeff Hawker Productions, we have to thank them for all the work they did. Thank you to the Doubletree by Hilton here in Cathedral City, a great host and a great help. I thought it was a very fun event. It was themed, Cathedral City Takes Flight, and I was honored at that event to be able to, besides doing a bit of the speaking, was able to give out 2 awards, and one for Business of the Year, and that was the Roost Lounge here downtown, and for the new Mark Carnevale Legacy Award, and honored to be able to present that to our former council colleague, John Aguilar. So a great event, and now you have to build on that and make each one better and better. So I'm sure you're already planning for next year, and it was great. And then earlier today, I did get up really early and traveled to I had to drive this one, but I did have another commissioner go with me so I could use the carpool lane. But I drove to Riverside for the Riverside County Transportation Commission. First was the executive committee, where we mostly did the performance evaluation for the executive director. He's okay, he's good. And worked on his contract. No, he's good. He's really good. And then we had the full commission meeting. Many of these, but we did open the budget public hearing. So of course that affects everybody. Big discussion because we took the next step forward on a design build of extension of express lanes on I-15 South, and are also working on consolidating the I-15 and the 91 and all of Orange County's express lanes into under one management of the actual tolls. So that would be seamless, and of course, it also has some cost savings. So very lengthy. It actually went quite late till after 11:30. So then I drove back after that. Sometimes we, of course, say why is it so important for us to participate or worry about West County projects? Well, besides the fact that we probably sometimes drive them, they also, of course, then respect us and give us credibility when we're working on our projects. So it's good. And we get a lot of funding through the Riverside County Transportation Commission. A lot of that thanks goes to John Corella, who is excellent at working with them and getting that money and that funding out of them on every possible source. So thank you, John, again, for everything you do for that. As already been mentioned, tomorrow is the Harvey Milk Breakfast. That's in Palm Springs at the Convention Center. I think many of us will be there at that. And then the ribbon cutting later at 1 p.m. at the Circle K across the way here on East Palm Canyon. So if you're around at 1 p.m., you may want to stop in on that and see the ribbon cutting. On Saturday, the Mary Pickford is celebrating their 25th anniversary celebration. We'll be commemorating that at 10:30 in the morning. But if you are interested, they've got a bunch of 25-cent movies and I think some concessionaire popcorn soda for $2.50, a bunch of specials throughout the weekend, but we'll be kicking that off on Saturday at 10:30. And I want to remind everybody that Memorial Day is coming up, Monday, May 25th. City Hall will be closed that day. Of course, our public safety never closes, so they'll be working. Thank you to them. And thank you to everyone who made the ultimate sacrifice through public safety, veterans, and all of those. So please remember them on Memorial Day. And with that, I will conclude my comments. Thank you. Thank you very much, Council, for sharing all that you've done. All right, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda with one item pulled. We still have item A through H, so I'll ask the city clerk if she would please read the consent agenda.
Item 3A is to waive full readings of the ordinances on the agenda. Item 3B is the approval of the April 22nd, 2026 meeting minutes. Item 3C is the Commissioner Committee member attendance record. Item 3D is the check demand for April 2026. Item 3E is the amendment number 3 to the on-call agreement for development support services between the City of Cathedral City and Christensen and Company. Item 3F is the resolution adopting the city's fiscal year 2026-2027 SB 1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act of 2017. Item 3G is to award a community development block grant subrecipient agreement to Fair Housing Council of Riverside County. Item 3H is a memorandum of understanding between the City of Cathedral City and the Coachella Valley Water District for the Clean State Revolving Fund Septic and Sewer Planning Project.
Thank you very much. All right, Council, any questions or comments on the consent agenda? I believe we have a written public comment. Could you go ahead and read that now?
Yes, this comment was provided to the council, made available at for the public in the entrance. The Fair Housing Council of Riverside County thanked the city and provided comments related to the need for affordable housing.
Thank you so much. Are there any comment cards on this consent
I have
agenda?
none, Mayor.
Anyone in the public wish to speak on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, I'll return it back to the council for further discussion or a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda items.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Here we go, ABC. Okay. Mayor, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote on this.
All right.
Okay. So roll call vote, Councilmember Gordon,
Yes.
Councilmember Ross,
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez,
Yes.
Mayor Gregory.
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
Thank you so much. Next item on our agenda is item 3I, which was pulled. It's to authorize one-year extensions for certain public works, maintenance, and environmental conservation service agreements. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item has generated some additional discussion the last 2 days among staff, and particularly we have looked at California Assembly Bill 339. This went into effect January 1st of this year. This requires local public agencies to provide unions with at least 45 days written notice before issuing RFPs, RFQs, or even renewing contracts for services similar to those performed by represented employees. So as we take a look at this item, 3I, there are 4 contracts here. We're not concerned about 3 of them, but one contract, the one for Desert Ants Engineering, includes concrete work, and that concrete work is also in our job description for street maintenance worker 1 and 2. And based on this additional review, we believe that we need to pull the Desert Ants Engineering contract from 3I for the purposes of engaging with labor.
Thank you so much. So we're being asked to look at and potentially approve items 1, 2, and 4. So that would be the Unex LLC contract, Graffiti Protective Coating Inc. contract, and this Student Creative Recycle Art program, also known as Scrap Gallery program. But the contract number 3 for Desert Ants Engineering is possibly going to come back to us in the future. Is that what our understanding?
That is correct, yes.
All right. Council, do you have any questions or comments on that? All right. Are there any speaker cards on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
Are there any members of the public that wish to discuss this item? Seeing none, I'll return it back to council for further discussion or a vote on the item for contracts 1, 2, and 4 on your agenda.
Move to approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
Thank you very much. All right, we're getting there. Moving on our agenda, we are now to our public hearing section. Our first public hearing for A is Forest Lawn Cathedral City Specific Plan Project, a proposal of Forest Lawn Memorial Park Association to establish the Forest Lawn Cathedral City Specific Plan on 10 acres located on the southwest corner of Ramon Road and Duval Drive, including a general plan amendment and a change of zone. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is an item that I'm pleased to have Sandra Molina present to you this evening. This is an item that will permit the future build-out of Forest Lawn here in Cathedral City. And with that, Sandra.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Before I go into the presentation, I did want to let the council know that the applicants, representatives of Forest Lawn are here, as well as their representatives from T&B Planning and their legal counsel, Siobhan Cooney. Also, via Zoom is another of their representatives for the environmental document that was prepared. So the staff report did have a number of attachments and an environmental initial study, which we provided a link to. And so there's a lot of actions we're asking the City Council to take this evening with respect to this project. But I do want to say that at the end of the day, this is a very straightforward project. Forest Lawn is requesting a specific plan because they want development surety for the long-term build-out of their project. And so I'll go through the presentation leading to that recommendation. So on April 2nd, 2023, T&B Planning, on behalf of the applicant, Forest Lawn, submitted specific plan 25-0001, which proposes a specific plan on 10 acres comprising the existing cemetery, referred to as the north area, and the redevelopment of the former mini storage facility to cemetery uses, and that's the south area. And in the reports, you'll see reference to north and south areas. Built over a 30-year period, the existing uses include a mortuary with chapel, crematory, mausoleums, wall crypts, and other interment spaces, as well as office and parking. The future south area will include 12,000 square feet of new occupied floor area, 275,000 square feet of non-occupied space, and 70,000 interment spaces. So at build-out, when this project is completely developed, there will be about 30,000 square feet of occupied space, that's chapels and offices, 275,000 square feet of non-occupied space, and those are the structures that house up to 84,000 interment spaces. And the slide here, you see a table that encapsulates that build-out. Currently, Forest Lawn conducts 3 to 4 funeral services and 2 witness cremations a day and has about 48 employees. At build-out, they anticipate at most 1 additional funeral service and 4 additional employees. So in addition to the specific plan, there is the general plan amendment and the change of zone. The general plan amendment proposes to change the designation from commercial general to neighborhood commercial, and the change of zone proposes to change it from PCC, planned community commercial, to neighborhood business park. These designations provide for cemetery and ancillary uses and better fit forest lawn uses. The neighborhood commercial land use designation is appropriate for the site as it supports a wide variety of supporting and a mix of land uses. The change of zone to neighborhood business park is appropriate as the current zone does not permit cemeteries and mortuaries, crematoriums, or columbaria. The proposed zone district does, and it also allows for ancillary office and retail uses. In relation to the development code update, I will add that there has been a discussion during the code update of taking some of our zone districts and collapsing them so that we have less zone districts, but the districts would encapsulate or cover multiple zone districts that we have now. I have advised the applicant that this zone district may be collapsed, but if we do that, the zone district we give it will include cemetery uses. In addition to that, the specific plan that's being proposed will govern this site, and the uses that are listed in that specific plan would also address the issue of collapsing the zone districts. And this is the review process. The project did go to the ARC in February. It went to Planning Commission on the 18th of March. They did ask for some revisions and some more clarification on the specific plan. And on April 15th, they did adopt a resolution recommending City Council approval of the project. So the Forest Lawn develops their projects in increments based on need. For instance, the existing cemetery uses, that was over a 30-year period. We anticipate that the south area will also be over a long-term period. Because of that, Forest Lawn is seeking development predictability and a streamlined development review process with the future expansion. The development tool to govern this is the specific plan. We did look at other type of applications within our zoning code to address their long-term need, but the specific plan ended up being the best tool to achieve that for them. Permitted uses under the proposed specific plan are, again, the uses that support the existing and future uses. Development standards such as setbacks, heights, and landscape and architectural standards are also included. The provision for specific plans are covered under California Government Code, and the Government Code does identify specific topics that must be included in the specific plan, such as infrastructure, land use plan, permitted uses, development standards, and an implementation component. And so all those items are included in the specific plan that is being presented to the council this evening. The implementation plan does provide for administrative staff level review of every future development that comes before the city. This will again provide the expedited process that Forest Lawn is seeking. This is also consistent with discussions that staff has been having with the Planning Commission and the council regarding, how should I phrase this? Regarding administrative review of more projects, basically pushing down review from Planning Commission level to staff level. And so this is very consistent with that. So this is the conceptual site plan you probably saw in the specific plan. And so what Forest Lawn proposes in the development of the south area shown on the bottom of the site plan here is a mixture of 1- and 2-story structures, with the 2-story structures proposed mainly along the west and south property lines. And these are the property lines that are adjacent to the Desert Shadows RV Resort. And so in consideration of that, there is a minimum setback requirement of 15 feet for ground floors, which then steps back an additional 5 feet for second levels. So the second levels will be set back 20 feet. The overall maximum building height is 45 feet, and along Duval Drive and Ramon Road, the minimum setback is 10 feet and 15 feet respectively. Access is from Ramon Road and Duval, and with the extension of Memorial Drive, it will also serve the future south area. There are 92 spaces on site currently. With the build-out of the specific plan, the 92 parking spaces will remain. But given the demands of the cemetery uses and the intermittent use of Forest Lawn services, and then also that their operational standards limit the number of daily services to avoid conflicts, staff believes that the parking of 92 spaces will adequately serve the project. The architectural and landscape design guidelines are intended to provide a predictable framework and guidelines to implement quality design, emphasizing both building form and landscape design. The cemetery structures are designed to maximize functionality while maintaining visual interest, with a focus on creating a welcoming and dignified experience for the visitors. The buildings will be designed to complement existing structures, including building articulation, roofline variation, accent materials, colonnades, and recesses. Primary building materials include stucco and concrete. Accent materials may include ceramic tile, marble, steel, or wrought iron. The roof, consistent with what's there, will be Spanish or concrete tile roofs, and there also will be fencing and other ornamentation. And so these slides go into the architectural guidelines, and this is the area where the Planning Commission did ask for additional information. Because future development is going to be at staff level, not ARC or Planning Commission, the Planning Commission wanted some assurance that the specific plan provided more information on that. So the specific plan does have a page in it that talks about forms and massing, and that forms and massing really addresses the bulk of structures. Because there's a height of 45 feet, the commission wanted to see how that was being addressed. And so there will be some openings and offsets and recesses. You see this with this photograph here on top is from the existing cemetery. And they key different elements and provided conceptual illustrations of future development and also key it. So you can see where they talk about open recesses. You can see where it's existing and where it's proposed with future buildings. The section that you see here is especially informative with respect to how the form and massing is going to play along with that interface with Desert Shadow RV Resort, right? So this is where you have the existing residential uses. So you will have that 15-foot setback. You see it on the bottom. And then you see for the second level, it does step back an additional 5 feet, so it's 20 feet setback on the second level. You also see wall openings, colonnades, open and covered colonnades. And so this also will provide some articulation and address the bulk concerns that were expressed by the commission. There will be articulation and ornamentation. Again, you see a comparison of conceptual illustrations and what's existing at the cemetery. With the articulation and ornamentation, I also snuck this picture in here on the bottom left. This you can see some variation on the roof line, or excuse me, on the building facade. You see the open colonnades, you see the ornamental work, and all of these are elements that will be incorporated into future development. And again, here again are colonnades and breezeways. And so you see these open colonnades and breezeways, and you see how they will be incorporated into future development. And so with these changes that were done by the applicant, the Planning Commission did recommend a positive approval to the council. There also will be art as part of the cemetery's visual aesthetic, and these are just some representations of the type of art that may be incorporated. But I will add that most of these mosaics and murals are from the existing facility. Landscaping, the placement of landscape areas together with the placement of proposed structures work together to provide spaces dedicated to the interment, worship, reflection, and quiet respect and reverence. Walkways meander throughout the buildings and between the buildings with open space areas, landscaping, columbarium trees, and then you'll have some water elements as well. So with regard to environmental review and public notice, the City Council did get the link for the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. It was a large document given the appendices that were included. But the environmental analysis determined that there was the potential for some impacts to biological and cultural resources and tribal resources. So you have a mitigated negative declaration. This document was sent out for a 30-day public review period. We provided notice. We did get some responses to comments, but as you see in the document, they were responses to them did not generate any significant or substantial comments that would require revisions to the initial study. So public hearing notices were sent out for the Planning Commission hearing and for the City Council hearing this evening. But there was also the 30-day public review period and notice for the initial study. So basically, 3 notices have gone out to folks within the 750-foot radius. We haven't gotten any written comments. We would get a few phone calls asking, where's this proposed and what are they going to do? Just informational questions, and that's the extent of what we received. But for this evening, the council did receive 3 letters of support for the project. The council also received a red line of the proposed resolution for the CEQA. Those were just some minor corrections. And you also received a revised draft ordinance for the specific plan adoption. And again, those were just really corrections and cleaning up the language for the CEQA determination that's being adopted this evening as well. So with that, staff does recommend that the City Council adopt the resolution adopting the mitigated negative declaration, adopt the resolution for the general plan amendment, and introduce ordinances adopting the change of zone and specific plan as revised. And with that, I'm available for any questions, as are the applicant and their representatives.
Thank you. Council, any questions before I open the public hearing? I see Councilmember Gordon in the queue.
Thank you. I think this looks very comprehensive. I'm just curious about, with sort of the long-term planning aspect, are there any risks to approving something with such a long sort of time frame for the city?
No, I think the specific plan that will govern the entire site until build out includes the uses that are permitted, the standards that need to be met as far as setbacks, height, and then also the design, the architectural features that have to be incorporated. So when we get a project that comes in, staff's review will make sure that it conforms to these standards. And if it does, then it's approved by staff.
So this is really a matter of, on both ends, both the Forest Lawn and the city, a matter of efficiency.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Sandra. My question is, so it's 10 acres that are being requested to be rezoned, correct?
Correct.
Now, there's only 92 parking spaces right now. Now, how many resting places do you say will be added to the entire 10 acres once it's completely built out?
I'm going to go back to this table because I think that probably gives you the best brief information. So if you look at the table here, the north area is what is existing already. The south area is the proposed build out. So when everything's constructed and that redeveloped south area is done, you'll have 30,000 square feet of occupied space, which is chapels, offices, areas like that. And then 315 non-occupied space, which is the structures that house the interment spaces, and you'll have up to 84,000 interment spaces.
So you're going to be adding all those spaces, and often, very often, people do go to visit their loved ones. And there's not going to be any additional parking?
They're adding maybe a handful because there will be some parking. And I'm sorry, I misspoke. I said there was 92 existing, but actually in total there'll be 92. They will add some street spaces along the cul-de-sac in this street. Currently, on the private areas, there is parking already allowed, so that will continue. And then where they extend the street, that will also continue. And the reason why we don't, why we determine that this is sufficient parking is because the way Forest Lawn operates, they do not stack all their services at the same time. They stagger them so that they're not having 2 or 3 or 4 services at the same time. They're cognizant of, first of all, their operations to provide the service, and then also the parking that they have in place. So there's, with respect to services, we don't anticipate a parking issue. And then without services, visitors, it's intermittent. You know, you might have a few visitors a day, but that shouldn't create a parking issue either.
When they're having services at Forest Lawn, very often they're also having viewings next door. And fortunately, I've attended quite a few of them. And many times, there's not enough parking.
Okay.
So if you add all these additional square footage, I'm sure there's going to be a problem.
We can have the applicant also speak more to their operations, because that is something they're also very aware of, and they don't want to create an issue for their services and for their people that come to the services.
Yeah. That's one of my main concerns, that, because once you start planning this, if there's no additional parking being planned for future, because it's like Councilmember Gordon said, this is a long-term project, we're not foreseeing any additional parking possibly in the future. I want to make sure that there's some possible parking as needed if necessary.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure there will be additional parking that is necessary when you add so many square footage. I mean, 10 acres worth of everything to build out is
Right.
quite a bit.
Yes. And the majority of the build-out on the south area, again, is internment spaces. So, and they build over, well, they build over time. You understand that. I know you do.
Correct.
But most of it's internment spaces, and so it's not occupied space.
Right.
Yeah.
But whenever they're having funeral services, I'm sure there will be people visiting their loved ones.
Yeah.
So that's my concern, that once you get closer to building out, there won't be enough space for parking. And it will create a problem. That's the only thing that,
Okay.
if they can work something out, that if additional parking space is necessary, where would they put it? I mean, everyone loves Forest Lawn so much, they're dying to go there.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did. Yes.
Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you for your presentation, and I just wanted to be clear, because the Planning Commission, it said the desire for clearer architectural standards, and then there was a paragraph that was fabulous, but it had a lot of things that I didn't understand. But basically, they wanted to ensure that there was architectural conformity with the existing buildings. Is that?
Yes, and they wanted to see how that would
Look?
look like, and that's
Yeah.
what they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the landscaping, you talked about height restrictions or height limitations for the trees, and are they specific? So that they would have to adhere to that?
The height limitations are for the two-story structures.
Not for landscaping, not
Not
for
for
trees?
landscaping.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ross.
Thank you. So I'm going to piggyback off of my council member here. When you travel, and I have a few times, to the actual cemetery across the street, on a Mother's Day, a Father's Day, an Easter Sunday, those places have 100 vehicles. It is packed. And so I do see that there could be potential parking issues, not every day, but it doesn't have to be every day to become overwhelming. I'm also curious, and maybe this is just a curiosity more than it is an explanation of why you're doing what you're doing, is are we seeing significantly more cremations than we are seeing interments?
And the applicant can speak more to that. This discussion on the cremations did come up during the Planning Commission meeting. They have two crematoriums, or they have two pieces of equipment for the cremations. They have a permit that limits the number of cremations they can do per month, and that's all they can do.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about how many all at once. I'm talking about the voluminous amount. Are they, so for instance, I think in this day and age, we probably bury less people than we do cremate. But I don't know that that's true. And I wondered if you could straighten me out or nod yes, I don't, whichever. Are we doing a lot more cremations than we are interments, or is it the other way around?
The applicant is the best person to answer that as far as what they're seeing as far as a trend. But with regard to the number of cremations, they're not going to do any more at build-out than they're doing today based upon the permit that they have.
Thank you.
Okay.
But I still would like to know that
Yes.
when the man comes up.
So we'll get to that when we open the public hearing. So let me just ask, oh, you got another one? Let me just ask a question. I'm just trying to conceptualize how this will work since it's not all being built at once. It would be built out and each project then would go for staff review to make sure it's in compliance with everything here. So it's a self-storage facility now, the southern portion of it now. So say it's approved and they decide they're going to build one project, would that storage facility remain operating as a storage facility and only the piece of property needed for the first build-out be built, or how would that work?
So, no, they are going to demolish the entire facility and then construct in increments.
Okay, so once it's demolished, what's going to be required as far as landscaping, fencing, dust cover for the portion that's sitting vacant?
So, once they demolish it, there will be requirements to keep dust control in order. That's typically part of the grading permit, or it'll be part of the demolition permit. And I don't believe they need to do any demolition of the landscaping that's along the parkway, so that will remain in place. But we can also ask the applicants.
So, yeah, I think we would need to ask, because I think the last thing we would want to do, or likely they would want to do, but consideration of the neighbors, is have that all demolished, and then you have a small portion be used and might sit there for many years, and the rest is vacant and, could potentially become an issue with dust and weeds and all of these kind of things.
Right.
And I'm not hearing that we would require them to, when they do the first project, to complete fencing and landscaping around the southern end. But maybe that's what they plan. But it's not required here of the, and I know it's difficult because it would come for administrative review, and the staff would need to say, okay, yes, that this works. I guess my question is, would staff just be looking at the little piece that they want to build, or would it be looking at the rest of the parcel and saying, well, if you're going to do this, you need to, finish this part off so it looks nice,
Yes,
and those types of things?
I understand the question, yes. The applicant can respond more
All
to
right.
the phasing.
We will speak to the applicant when we open the public hearing then. You had a question before we open the
Mayor,
public
you
hearing?
took the question right out of my mouth.
Oh, okay.
Great question. And my concern is also that when these buildings are demolished, what's going to happen? Because it will create issues with dust, and also, of course, to the neighbors, it will be very unsightly. And I don't want this to become a nuisance as far as weeds and blowing sand and everything else. And of course, since this is not going to be built out in 10 years, it might take 50 years to be built out. I think it would be a very unsightly site for the city for everyone that drives by there and the residents to see every single day when they drive by there.
Understood.
All right, if we're done with questions for now, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. I know we do have, we'll wait to the end with that. So would the applicant like to please speak to the project and perhaps address some of the questions that the council has raised, or any other
Certainly.
thing you would like to
Good
present?
evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Gregory, Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez, and council members. My name is Dennis Madison. I lead the architecture and engineering team at Forest Lawn. We're very pleased to be here tonight with our project team, as Director Molina mentioned. And I would actually like to begin by thanking Director Molina and Director Corella and the city staff for their guidance and hard work in bringing this package before you tonight. We've really appreciated the collaboration and the careful review provided by city staff over the past several months. Frankly, it's hard to believe that Forest Lawn's been part of Cathedral City now for over 20 years. We've serving the community and striving to be a good business partner. We are a not-for-profit mutual benefit corporation that serves all faiths. As an organization, we've designed and built cemetery space throughout Southern California now for almost 120 years. I didn't work there then, but that's the truth. It's our core expertise, and it's a responsibility that we take seriously and that's reflected in the projects we've completed here at our Cathedral City Memorial Park. We do look forward to having the specific plan in place so we can move ahead with extending our existing cemetery onto the adjoining parcel. Again, that previously operated a public storage facility. It has been closed for a period of time. Approval of the plan will allow Forest Lawn to continue serving the residents of Cathedral City and the surrounding communities for many years to come while providing much-needed cemetery space. So we would respectfully request your adoption of the resolutions and ordinances before you. And again, the entire project team is here to answer questions. So thank you for your time and consideration. I will address a couple that I wrote down. First, the mini storage is not operating currently. Okay. With respect to the parking, our cemetery use is unique. It's not really a traditional use where you build more, you need more. We control our services. Our daily operations will remain relatively constant. Just because we have more inventory of spaces doesn't mean we have, more death, if that makes sense. We would not want to have major services overlapping and interfering with each other. And our vice president of the site is here. He can talk a little more to that, but that's something we do at all of our locations. Visitation also, if you think about the cemetery, as time goes on, yes, we do have visitation to the memorials, but as time goes by, the older parts of the cemetery, the visitation drops off and wanes. So it's essentially a constant situation as it relates to the amount of visitors that we receive. It's obviously higher in the newer parts of the cemetery. And again, future development does occur incrementally. I will say we've been a very good neighbor to the RV resort. We would never demolish the site and leave it in a state of disrepair. That is not what we're about. That's not what we do. If you visit any of our properties throughout Southern California, we know how to phase things and keep it together. Now, in terms of how this will be phased, it's TBD. We respond to what the community wants. To answer your question, ma'am, it is more cremation. We experience about 70 to 75% of the families that come to us choose cremation. The reason for the additional amount of spaces that may seem a little high to you, sir, is we are leaning towards providing lots more niches because that's what the community asks for typically. So let's see, what have I missed? The conditions of approval with respect to leaving things in disrepair and dust and weeds and all that stuff, we have conditions of approval that require us to put covenants over this entire area to maintain it well and keep it in good condition. You're talking about a 10-area site, but half of it, the 5 acres, is basically developed. We're talking about 5 acres of incremental development that will include, even though our analysis said that new parking isn't needed, we are including some parking along the turnaround that you see in the graphic on the bottom.
Help me see that. Where is it?
It's the gray area.
Oh, the gray area, okay, right in the center.
Yeah,
In the middle.
it's a turnaround that attaches to our private road that is existing.
Okay, and you're going to be adding more space there, did you say?
That will facilitate additional parking.
Additional parking,
Yeah.
thank you.
Correct. For folks that, once that area is built out, or there's built spaces there, they'll be able to park closer to it and access it.
So if you could address, what would be your intention when the existing structures in the storage are demolished? What would be your intention as for landscaping along Duval and fencing and landscaping along Duval and against the mobile home park or the RV park to the south?
Again, I mean, our initial plans, we have extensive infrastructure that we have to put here in order to meet our, infiltrate basically the design storms and such for water quality. I think our initial plan would be to demolish only what's internal to the site. For those that are familiar, the tall storage things exist all around the property. Those would probably, on the perimeter, would remain until we're ready to actually have a project that's been approved that we can implement and turn into cemetery. So initially, there wouldn't be any difference to the surrounding residents.
Oh, so you're not going to demolish the whole storage, you're going to keep some of
Not
it?
initially, no, not until we're ready
That's-
to actually.
That was the question, and I thought the answer was, well, once you're ready to go, it'll all be demolished, and then you'll be adding parts
No,
on.
I don't, no. Again, it depends where the project will be, but no, the
Okay.
intention would not be to right away get approval and demolish the whole thing.
So the existing fencing and landscaping, you would maintain it as is until you get to a part,
we're ready to develop
portion
it.
where you build near it? All right, Council.
Yeah, I just
Mayor
want to
Pro
make sure that that's what happens. So I hope that you can do that, but I just want to make sure that that's in writing somewhere.
Okay.
And the additional parking, I still believe that, how many spaces do you think will be additional parking to the square footage that you're going to be adding? How many spaces will be added approximately?
I don't know the exact number, to be honest. Yeah.
Please come forward if you're speaking.
Hi, Siobhan Cooney. I'm Land Use and Environmental Counsel. I've worked with Forest Lawn on projects in California for almost 20-something years now. So I have learned a lot about cemetery development along the way and have worked on environmental review for forest lawn projects. And the parking, I was just saying in the background that I think there would be a few spaces in the circulation feature that's shown there in the south area. But this is still a conceptual site plan, so there's not a detailed count yet. But the way the specific plan is structured, there would be a minimum number of spaces, as Director Molina said, that would be required to be maintained at all times to serve the specific plan area. And specific planning for the cemetery use is, as Dennis was saying, the cemetery development is unique in that it's not a traditional kind of land use where, as Dennis said, if you build more, you need more parking. The intensity of the operations on a daily basis wouldn't change because of the nature of how the cemetery is developed, with small amounts of incremental development occurring over time, and the number of services each day remaining relatively constant, the number of visitors coming to the site remaining constant. It's not changing the amount of parking that's needed on a daily basis.
Now, since you're going to be building as needed, okay, are you going to possibly, if parking is necessary, are you going to leave certain areas for possible future parking?
I mean, yeah, we can do that. If we believe it's needed, that could be a potential interim condition.
Because you can leave a certain portion of where the current parking is on the west side of the current parking right now that is adjacent to the viewing portion. Add an additional 30, 40 spaces south of that, or leave that just in case in the future it's necessary.
Yeah, the specific plan, Siobhan Cooney again, the specific plan is really a framework for long-term development, and parking is certainly one of the cemetery-related uses that would be permitted. So down the road, if Forest Lawn determined that there wasn't a sufficient amount of parking, they could certainly add more as part of the cemetery development. But at this point, it's not needed.
Okay.
And it's
That's
not
my biggest
anticipated to
concern.
be needed, yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that is my biggest concern, as you can tell, because of how much additional space will be built.
Understood. And I think
Keep that in mind, that's,
yeah. Similar to the concerns that have been expressed about, since development occurs over a long period of time, the concerns about the site being, unsightly. It's not in Forest Lawn's interest either to have this look like a construction site for a long time or to not have enough parking for people who are coming. There's a lot of sensitivity to the nature of this use. People are coming when they're grieving, they're in mourning, they're visiting a loved one's site. It's a sacred space. And Forest Lawn is very intentional about not only how they develop for the future, but how they manage the operations on a day-to-day basis. So they don't want any of these issues that you're concerned about either, and will be managing the development of the cemetery over the long term to ensure that they're respectful of not only their neighbors, but anyone who's coming to the cemetery as a sacred space and visiting loved ones or mourning someone who's passed. And that's something that they're very thoughtful and careful about.
What is the approximate build-out date? 50, 100 years?
Oh, no, not 100 years. Obviously, it depends on the demand and what the community needs. But I think we're envisioning maybe a 20-year, 20-ish.
Oh, wow. Well,
That's our hope anyway.
thank you.
Yeah. I will mention one thing someone reminded me mentioned the landscaping along the perimeter, particularly there is a 15-foot dedicated easement for drainage there that has several mature trees, that goes all along there. Those all remain. Those cannot be touched. So,
All right.
if that helps.
I have one
I
more
think that
question.
helps with the concern. Councilmember Gordon.
Yeah, I think, probably very few of us will be here in 20 years as this. And so I hear you about what Forest Lawn's sort of ethos is today and has been. And I think what would make, at least me and probably some of the members of the council, a little more comfortable is to understand maybe a little more directionally about what's going to happen over that 20-year period. I know we can't predict demand or, a lot of things, but, as business interests change, there may be some changes in the way that this site is managed and developed. And I think what we're hoping is that, we're making a decision today that will be a good decision for the future of Forest Lawn, for the future of the community, for the future of the neighbors. And so I think that's some of what you're hearing in some of these questions is we understand that some of this is unknown, but I think what could be known, we'd like to know, knowing that, again, Forest Lawn sort of has an ethos for doing business, but people change and business changes over time.
Yeah, our purpose will not. I can attest to that. But 20 years can be a long time. What I would say is that the specific plan is laid out, and it will be developed according to the development guidelines, which are very strong in the specific plan. If we come to the city staff with something that is non-conforming, we are back into the going through the various commissions and getting oversight. So it's in the specific plan. It's very detailed. It frankly fills I think a regulatory gap in the city's code for cemeteries that this is providing. And we worked with city staff quite a bit. Specific plan was identified as the proper vehicle to do this. And you're right, we can't predict 20 years in the future, but it's written in a way that all the types of interment property that we offer can be incorporated into this. Again, it depends what the community is asking of us and what they want from us. So, I don't know, Siobhan has anything to add?
Sure, Siobhan Cooney, I'll just underscore what Dennis was saying, that I think the specific plan actually gives the city more certainty than you would have otherwise. As Dennis noted, there really isn't a lot in the city's zoning code or zoning regulations or land use policies that address this kind of land use. And so that was part of the reason why, in coordination with the city, Forest Lawn decided to propose a specific plan, because it really establishes a set of regulations and design guidelines and development standards specific to cemetery use. So with the framework of the specific plan, which if approved will run with the land, the city knows for the long term what the parameters of future development will be and what it will look like. And there's legal obligations and a land use plan regulating future development of the property that says that it needs to be compatible with the existing cemetery development. It needs to meet all these specific development standards and be consistent with the design guidelines. And at every step of the way, Forest Lawn will be coming into planning to confirm that they agree that that's the case. So I think you actually have, even though we can't tell you exactly what every individual project will be over the next 10 years, I think the specific plan gives, or should give, hopefully, the city a lot of comfort about what it's going to look like and the framework within which it will occur.
Thank you.
All right, council, any other questions of the applicant? All right, are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Do we have any comment cards?
I have none, Mayor.
All right, do you have any written comments that you would like to note for the record?
So, Mayor, we did not receive written comments, but we did receive 3 letters of support, one from the Sacred Heart Church, one from the Boys and Girls Club, and one from El Comité Centro Guadalupano del Valle de Coachella.
Thank you so much. Are there any members of the public present that would like to speak on this public hearing item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and return it back to the council. Council, are we ready to vote? Because this is going to be a little bit of a process.
Yes.
Are we ready? All right. So the first recommendation is to adopt a resolution adopting a mitigated negative declaration and mitigation measure and reporting plan pursuant to CEQA with certain findings as outlined in the staff report. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adopt that resolution.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Gregory?
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
Thank you so much. Next up is to adopt a resolution approving General Plan Amendment 25-0001 to amend the land use map designation from general commercial to neighborhood commercial based on findings as outlined in the staff report. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second.
Roll call. Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Gregory?
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
All right, next up is to adopt an ordinance to enact change of zone 25-001 from planned community commercial to neighborhood business park based on findings as outlined in the staff report. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and then a second.
And just a clarification, it's to introduce the first reading, correct, for the ordinance?
Yes.
So roll call vote. Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Gregory?
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
Would you read the title, please?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cathedral City, California, adopting change of zone 25-0001 to rezone approximately 10 acres located on the southwest corner of Ramon Road and Duval Drive from planned community commercial to neighborhood business park.
Thank you so much. Next up is to adopt an ordinance approving specific plan 25-001, referred to as the Forest Lawn Cathedral City Specific Plan, based on findings that are in the staff report and waive full reading of the ordinance. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second.
Roll call. Councilmember Gordon?
Yes.
Councilmember Ross?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez?
Yes.
Mayor Gregory?
Yes.
Motion carries all ayes.
Thank you. Would you please read the title of the ordinance?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cathedral City, California, adopting specific plan 25-0001, establishing the Forest Lawn Cathedral City Specific Plan.
Thank you so much. It appears that this concludes this item, and we will take a 5-minute break, and we will be back in session at 7:20 p.m. So don't wander too far. Thank you.
Yes, Mayor.
All right, we're going to go back into session. Our next public hearing, item 4B, is a public hearing to approve the fiscal year 2026-2027 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. Mr. City Manager.
This is the second public hearing on the city's CDBG Annual Action Plan, and Elizabeth Medina is here this evening to present it.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. As our City Manager mentioned, this is the second public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant to prepare the annual action plan for the upcoming fiscal year. Just to give a real quick background, since we went through a lot of this during our first public hearing on March 11th, the annual action plan is a one-year plan that allocates community development block grant funds. It must be consistent with our 5-year consolidated plan objectives, and this upcoming fiscal year will be the 5th program year. There are allocation caps. Up to 20% can go towards program administration, up to 15% for public services, and then there is no cap for funding towards public improvements or infrastructure projects. Just to give an update, since our first public hearing on March 11th, on April 3rd, the appropriations were announced by HUD, and that starts a 60-day clock that the city has to submit our annual action plan to HUD, our deadline being June 2nd of 2026. And the allocation that was announced for Cathedral City for this upcoming fiscal year is $482,495. This is about a $30,000 decrease from what we received in fiscal year 25-26 and from what we had expected and what we presented during the first public hearing. Therefore, we're proposing in the next upcoming fiscal year allocations for program administration and public infrastructure only, and not using CDBG funding to fund any public services. We propose to fund those services through our general fund in the Community Assistant Grant Program. And this slide shows an outline of how our funding would be allocated. As you can see, we have 20% of it allocated towards administrative services. This includes city planning and administration, TAMJAC, who's our CDBG administrative on-call consultant, and Fair Housing Services, which we just awarded a contract for tonight. Thank you for that. And then the remainder would go towards public improvements, which is $385,996 for the Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo Street Reconstruction Project. Diving a little more deep into that project, it was programmed in the 5-year CIP. It's been presented to City Council in April and October of 2025, and then again in March 2026 through our semi-annual CIP updates. The construction estimate is $1.2 million. Using our CDBG allocation that we now know, we have $385,996, and the remainder would be funded through SB1, which we also showed in the SB1 resolution, which was also adopted tonight. And this project is located in Census Tract 44926, where over 51% of the population is low or moderate income. And this slide shows the location of the project. As you can see, it's Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo from McCallum Way to Ramon Road. And the funding level that we have is sufficient for a removal and replacement of 2 inches of asphalt with a minimum base treatment. The lower PCI streets in this area will need a 3-inch plus base repairs in order to complete the proper reconstruction. And that's more expensive and will require additional funding sources in the future. So maintenance of these streets, Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo, is a proactive and cost-effective approach before the streets require more expensive repairs. So the city has also run an emergency sidewalk repair program since 2022. The latest program was included in the fiscal year 24-25 annual action plan, and it was funded for $5,000. During that fiscal year, there were no applications received. So during the development of last year's annual action plan, we did not make any adjustments, and we marked the program as ongoing because of the limited utilization. And then during this current fiscal year, engineering and code compliance have increased collaboration, including updating maps of eligible areas for code compliance staff and reviewing program guidelines. And we've seen a positive impact from this. So far, during this fiscal year, we've received approximately 15 inquiries, either from residents directly or from code compliance referrals. And we've received 4 applications. 1 was determined to be ineligible. 2 were approved, but they did not complete the reimbursement request after the repairs were completed. And then 1 was successfully reimbursed. So as of today, we have $4,200 remaining in the program after that 1 reimbursement was processed. So for next year's plan, we're recommending to continue the ongoing program, but not add any additional new funding. And we'll continue working with our CDBG on-call consultant to look at ways that we can streamline this reimbursement process while still remaining in compliant with federal guidelines. So looking at the schedule for the development of this annual action plan, we are now on May 13th at the second public hearing where we're looking for approval of the annual action plan. And then we plan to submit to HUD by June 2nd. During the first public hearing held on March 11th, we did receive 1 public comment about the sidewalk repair program outreach and program structures. And then we did hold a public comment period from March 12th through April 11th, 2026, in which no public comments were received. And then for tonight's public hearing, the notification was published in the Desert Sun on May 1st. It was posted in English and in Spanish. It was also posted at City Hall, the library, Senior Center, and Boys and Girls Club. There's no fiscal impact for the development of this annual action plan. The program funding is provided on a reimbursement basis. And then we have separate council agenda items for consideration of any contract awards, including the Fair Housing Services, which you approved tonight. And then we'll come back to council for the Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo street reconstruction project for the award of a construction contract at a future council meeting. This agenda item aligns with community investment, which is strategic plan goal B. And in summary, I'm asking that City Council approve the fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan for submittal to HUD, authorize the city manager or designee to execute all required certifications, funding agreements, and related documents related to this fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan, and open the public hearing for the approval of the Community Development Block Grant fiscal year 26-27 annual action plan. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. All right, council, does anybody have any questions before we open the public hearing?
No.
All right. Then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Are there any speaker cards on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
Are there any members of the public present that wish to speak on this item?
We have none.
Then I will close the public hearing and return it back. I do have one question, or question/comment, but when this was previously presented, there was a concern that on the streets contain that. There you go. That's the one for Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo. That it kind of, because streets like Avenida La Paloma, Avenida Los Gaviota, and then Whispering Palms have all received some repair or treatment over the last several years, that Sky Blue Water Trail was skipped on this, and now 2 more streets that are farther to the east are being done. So I know I share a concern that we don't forget about Sky Blue Water Trail. Do you know, are there plans for treatment of that street here in future budget years? I know we haven't done budgets. We will be doing a new one. But could you speak to that?
Sure. So when we looked at our last 5-year CIP and developed and decided that Avenida El Mundo and Avenida El Pueblo would be the 2 streets to start this area, we did look at Avenida Maravilla and to the east, so from Landau Boulevard to Avenida Maravilla, and we did select the 2 lowest PCI streets. When we do develop the new 5-year CIP, which will be started next fiscal year, we do plan to take into consideration new SOP that Public Works is developing, where anything north of the Whitewater River Channel, we will move in a northeast direction. So we would, in this instance, move east to west. So in that case, sky blue water, and this is, let me clarify, this would be for any PCIs where they're very similar in the area.
Right.
So in that case, sky blue water would be considered for future reconstruction. But to answer your question directly, we don't currently have sky blue water programmed in the current 5-year CIP.
Okay, but that SOP, it was discussed last time, that is planned to be put into effect for the next selection process, which would, then we would anticipate would probably, I know it depends on funding and what types of reconstruction, but I know I don't feel like it's proper, and there was some support that we just go around and pick this one or that one. Because like you could look at this list and you could say, oh, well, the very next lowest one is, Avenida Zimino. But the problem with that is then you've got a little hodgepodge over time of ones that are done. And frankly, they're all pretty low. So, we spoke about trying to have some organized way to go through neighborhoods so that we don't have neighbors on one street with a similar PCI. One might argue it's a little bit better than the other, but with similar saying, well, hey, that one got done, mine didn't get done, and they're moving back and forth.
Right, right. And you raised a good point during our last discussion of how can we look down to the very last end when we have a whole area and we do get to very similar PCIs of how do we keep this scientific to the very end. So we have a standardized approach across the whole city.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because the same thing kind of happened in Panorama. A street was chosen, which is great that one got done, but the same question came as to, well, why that one, and then are we going to go in some organized way or as we continue to address the issues? So it sounds like this SOP would apply across the city when you're looking
Yes.
at neighborhoods. So.
Yes, yeah, we would use it citywide.
Okay, good. And I think we all support the practice of trying to share the love around in different neighborhoods. But when we're dealing with the neighborhood, I think I would certainly support doing it in an organized way like that. So thank you. All right, council, any other questions or comments on this item?
Thank you.
No? Okay. It's back to us after public comments, so I am seeking a motion to approve the CDBG Annual Action Plan as presented.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Ross and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
All right, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that presentation. All right, the next item is this one also a public hearing? I guess so. Public hearing 4C, an ordinance to amend Cathedral City Municipal Code, Chapter 8.24, floodplain management, including sections 8.24.10, 8.24.020, and 8.24.070. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. John Corella is here this evening and has promised a riveting presentation on the city's floodplain and stormwater regulations. And with that, John?
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, fellow council members. Yeah, I drew the short straw. So I'll make this entertaining because I know there's a huge crowd that's really interested in this, but it is important.
It is important.
And so moving through here, this covers a strategic plan goal. It's with all the other work, we're trying to encourage private development and streamline the processes, and that fits right in with it. So on the overview, we want to amend this chapter of the municipal code that deals with floodplain management. There are other sections that touch on it. This one's kind of key. It's kind of the central. So what we're going to look at clarifying drainage responsibilities, updating and expand some of the definitions, and modernize stormwater storage facilities to current standards. And I'll tell you the reasons why. So here's a graphic of what we're doing for all the people watching out there. Stormwater. This section that I'm going to talk about is about the water hitting the land, the water flowing across the land and ending up somewhere. And then after it ends up somewhere, where could it go somewhere? Either down, infiltrating in the ground, or break out down to the next property. So the background and reason for the update is this ordinance was originally adopted in 91. That's 1991, not 1891, but 1991. The last update was 2013. It was very minimal. And since then, Riverside County Flood Control Manual has been updated, and we want to make sure, this has been on at least my mind for about 10 years. Since I came to the city, we did have a strong ordinance and saw things change, and I just didn't have the resources and staff to really go through this, so it was time to update. So once again, the reasons for the change also are compounded by FEMA's requirements have changed in a lot of cases. Our regional boards have put different requirements on us. They basically have changed the rules of the game. We're trying to catch up with them. Riverside County Flood Control and CVWD both have evolved and changed standards on their flood flows. And then, obviously, we saw some vulnerabilities. We learn from everything we see. So the Valentine's Day flood of 2019 and Tropical Storm Hillary of 23 gave us key insights on where we need to improve this. So we want to make these updates. You can't do them. Flood control is very expensive. You can't do it right now, but we can improve it on the developments that are coming step by step. So our proposed changes, this is kind of an outline of what we'll review real quickly, but we're going to cover drainage law, modernizing the facilities, update our maintenance requirements, water quality, that's for the regional board for the most part, and address local and regional storm facilities. As we progress into the North City, we're starting to see where regional flood control facilities come into place. And then we'll talk about how we address some of that in the variance process. So to reaffirm drainage law, and we've had a couple instances since Valentine's Day and in the Tropical Storm Hillary aftermath, where downstream property owners and upstream property owners didn't realize they had responsibilities to maintain basins and or pass through water efficiently as per the law. So in this ordinance, we're reaffirming drainage law. Drainage law is that you follow the natural flow. There's a great graphics. Downstream properties can't have any unreasonable alterations. You got to look at what the downstream impact is. And there's a lot of legal challenges. It creates liabilities. So it just improves the consistency during our project review. It also affirms us when we get questions for older projects on their retention basins that they probably haven't maintained since the inception or the construction of that flood control basin. Then we're getting into the modernizing our facility design. I don't expect you to understand these graphics, but it all deals with the methodology that we use. We've been using basically a strict 3-year, 100-year storm, but we're finding that with the amount of rainfall, which is the second graphic, NOAA has updated its rainfall tables, and rain has increased. Climate change has increased, so our storms are getting a little more intense. And so what we're looking at, some cities do 24, some do 3, and some do the multiple storms and pick the largest storm. And what we're going with is the most conservative, the largest practical storm of a 100-year flood event on the 1 through 24-hour duration. So In addition, we're modernizing our stormwater, basically retention basins that you hear us talking about improving. Deanna does a lot of work making sure that the city operated and maintained and LLD maintained landscaping or the retention basins are up to snuff. So we have new standards for freeboard. What's freeboard? Well, you look at it here, you have a swimming pool, there's a little gap before it overflows. That's just in case it rains, you're gonna be able to fill up the water. The best example I can say is you go to Starbucks and they say, do you want room for your cream? They're leaving you freeboard. So next time you go to Starbucks, just tell them I want no freeboard or I want freeboard. And you got it down. Drawdown times are very important. That's where the 36-hour come for the smaller retention basins. That's the infiltration. So the Coachella Valley is a big bucket of sand in this valley, and you pour water on it, and it infiltrates in the ground. You pour water on your grass, it infiltrates. We actually look at that in retention basins as to the time that it infiltrates in the ground. We also look at the slopes on the side. That's important for not only safety or not. Over 3-to-1 slopes, steeper than that, we require fencing around that because people can easily fall in, slip in, and it also creates more of a deeper swimming pool effect that might be an attractive nuisance after a storm. And then we have what we call breakout, overflow routing. So we get a lot of people to design their retention basins, and they go, look, we did everything to city standards, and our question is, well, where's the breakout? What if we have a 200-year storm, 500? We don't want you to store that water. You need to pass it on like historically it passed on. So how do you effectively convey that in the proper manner that's not going to disrupt or interrupt the street, interrupt downstream properties, not cause additional erosion? Then we talk about the safety requirements and maintenance requirements. So once again, we talked about the outbreak protection, but we're also in our new standards requiring basin depth markers. So what that is when the basin is originally constructed, there's going to be a marker in there, and there can be several markers at intervals on large, massive basins. But what it'll allow is whoever's maintaining that basin, whether it's the city, whether it's an agency, whether it's an HOA, which is for the most part, they can go by it and see a marker on it and say, it's at the right depth. In this valley, we get a lot of below sand accumulation. We get a lot of dust, and then other storms come in and fill up these basins, and I get calls from people in HOAs saying, our water basin filled up. It hasn't filled up before. And I said, when was the last time you maintained it? And they go, well, we've never maintained it. And we said, well, what's the original depth? They'll ask us for the plan. We'll go out there and we'll say, you know, you're about 3 feet. You've impacted 3 feet of basin. So it's like having a swimming pool that's 8 feet, and all of a sudden it's, 6 feet deep or 5 feet deep because you've let a lot of sand and mud accumulate on the bottom. So in addition to that, here's, bicycle compliant inlet grace. We hadn't had that in our flood control. It's kind of important because if you look at that grate that's on there, and if it didn't have those crossbars in it, a bicycle can go, the wheels can go right in there and have someone flip over. And surprisingly enough, when I came to this city, there was a few of those grates still in existence, and I was surprised that it hadn't caused any challenges with bicycle riders before. Let me see. Then we have water quality and environmental compliance. This is something that the regional board placed on basically everyone that has stormwater that could potentially enter into a riverbed or a watershed of some sorts. And what this does is catches trash. It's not going to catch all the trash, but it's called the first flush. So right when a storm hits, there's the accumulation of the gutters and everything that brings in that first flush of trash. It'll go into these trash bins, which we'll have to maintain after the storm. We'll go clean them out, and we do that now today with our grates. But what it does allow for is if they fill up, still not going to stop your storm drain from operating, and the water will cascade over that. So, and that's a mandated requirement. We've had that in our budget as a maintenance item for quite a few years now. I think at about $25,000 to $30,000 a budget cycle. It varies to incrementally put these trash grates in. And we're actually finding out we're ahead of other cities that kind of put it off, and they're scrambling to get that because the regional board is getting a little aggressive on applying fines to people that aren't compliant. So, and then we get to variances. Variances are exceptions to the normal rule that we had. And one of the variances is we're looking at, we're including regional larger storm facilities that are totally different than the smaller ones you see in HOAs and everything. These ones can accumulate. What we're also trying to do by this ordinance and expanding it and having things that we've done for years, we know are necessary, they're changing with the times, is relieve the city engineer and/or a floodplain administrator, if we appoint one, that on the decision-making process to make it more predictable for the developer, more predictable for this, and less pressure on the city engineer to make discretionary decisions so there's no influence. So we're trying to get that out of the developer's hands to be able to negotiate the size of a basin, how deep basins are, what the slopes are. We can easily just point, do it per the municipal code. This improves the consistency and transparency during our whole review project, and we can apply that equally to all projects. So once again, we have local facilities. We've always had those in our stormwater code. What we're doing, expanding it to regional facilities. This was initiated by the fact that everything we're going to get on the north side of the freeway in our new area, we could potentially have it down here also. But in the north area, we see and already are seeing larger regional stormwater basins that are collecting water not only from the project, but from other areas if they have to pass through. So these regional facilities will serve multiple developments, larger areas. They could actually be passed on to other agencies, whatever. We're served by two different flood control districts, Riverside County on the west side, basically on the west side of the Whitewater River, CVWD on the east side. So you get some boundary distinctions, and each one of them has talked about primacy on certain facilities. In addition to that, on the larger facilities, it's impractical to have 36 hours of drawdown because they're so big and so deep. So we're looking at 48 hours on those as well. In addition to that, the summary of the major changes, I got 3 charts here if you want to stop me on these and talk about it, but we're just aligning with current federal, state, and county standards. We're codifying the upstream obligations. We're clarifying definitions, enhance public safety, establish times on infiltration. So these are all the details. And then we get to the summary of the amendments. The impacts will improve flood resiliency, enhance public safety, reflect our current standards, reduce our plan check ambiguity. That was a good one, I didn't think about it. Creates more predictable development review and aligns with our city standards that align with regional and federal guidance. So there's no direct fiscal impact for adoption of this ordinance. Engineering department used our on-call consultants. One of them happens to be a very good top-rated hydrologist, has a hydrologist on staff. So they helped us develop this. This was included in our engineering professional technical services budget, and it was included in previously approved task orders for plan checking services. This public hearing was published in Desert Sun May 1st. It was noticed it was posted at City Hall, Library, Senior Center. Next steps, Mayor, is for you to open the public hearing. We're going to have a second reading if you approve this reading. May 27th, and then we're looking to adopt this June 23rd, 26th, after the statutory 30-day period. So our recommendation is to open the public hearing, Mayor, and introduce the first reading by title only of the ordinance. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much. All right, council, are there any questions before I open the public hearing?
Yes, I'm up there. Do you not see me?
Oh, I'm probably on the wrong one. Let's see.
It's okay. You can just trust me. I'm up there.
All right. You're not on mine, but go ahead.
I have 1.5 questions, because I think you can meld two of them kind of together. So when we're talking about this, the levels of the floodplain management, are these modern levels, or are these levels that we've had for some time? Flood levels.
I'm trying to understand what you
And
mean
me
by
too,
levels.
me too. All right, so let me just draw it into the second question. I think they meld together, kind of. So is this, when we talk about the floodplain management and the statutory findings and the findings of facts and the purpose and methods, is this only for future items that come up, or are these rules that will go back to past design, will we use past design standards?
They won't be retroactive for construction unless someone comes in with a project and has, let's say it's a CUP, and their project impacts their existing flood control facilities. So no, they're not going to be retroactive. These are meant for new development. But in the cases of retention basins after a storm where I get HOAs coming in, I can recommend that they follow the municipal code. But then also, if that development decided to come in for a CUP or additional planning and had to add another retention basin, they would have these guidelines to follow through.
And does, when you talk about the maximum drawdown period, does that drawdown time start after the rain stops, or from the first notice that you can actually see it flooding?
Typically, it's after the rain stops.
So it just floods and floods and floods for 48 hours, and then we say, oh, now we have to wait for it to draw down.
Yes.
Okay, I don't like it, but I understand it. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right, then I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
Are there any members of the public within my voice that would like to make a comment on this item? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and return it back to council for further questions, comments, or a motion to approve and introduce this by first reading title only.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Gordon and a second by Councilmember Lamb. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
Would you please read the title?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cathedral City, California, amending Chapter 8.24 of the Cathedral City Municipal Code relating to floodplain management and stormwater storage facilities.
Thank you so much. And I didn't add, but I think the whole council appreciates the work that you did on this. We have had flooding being an issue in our city. And so although there isn't a groundswell of people here to support this, I know that the city does support this. We've had neighborhoods impacted by flood, and I'm sure they appreciate us continually trying to update and make sure that at least new construction is up to newer standards. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, our next item is a legislative item, item 5A, the annual renewal of the Lighting and Landscaping District budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Kevin Biersack is here this evening to present this item to you. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. He did neglect to tell you that this presentation is even more riveting than the previous presentation.
How could that be?
Just wanted to share that. We had that discussion earlier this week, but he left that off. So, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, as the City Manager said, the LNL, the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District, number 1. If you have any questions as we go along, please do. Otherwise, save them to the end. This is part one of part two. We come to you every May and June with this same drill. So these first three slides you've seen before. From a standpoint dating back to 2001 is when this first became part of our city with the resolution 2001-57 that initially formed only 4 benefit zones. Then over time, we now have 16 benefit zones, or LLDs as we like to call them. So as pursuant to the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972, in the preliminary engineer's report that was attached to your staff report, it includes district maps of what that area is for each one of those 16 zones or LLDs. And it also identifies the proposed budget and assessment that we're proposing for you all this evening. The assessments are based on the estimated cost to maintain, and that provides that special benefit for that district. The annual levy is budgeted and assessed for each separate zone. So we have a fund, but then call them projects. We have 16 projects within that fund that we budget and manage for those 16 projects. So in our collaboration with Public Works and specifically the Public Maintenance Division, what we do every spring prior to coming to you is we meet and we discuss on what you've done this year compared to what you thought you were going to do and what your plans are for the next year. And that ties back to these next 2 slides. Maintenance and operations, any public works, public maintenance labor that is anticipated to be utilized, water, the arterial and interior streetlights. Keep in mind that if it's an arterial streetlight, that's 50-50 between the zone and the general fund. If it's an interior streetlight, it is on the hooks for that specific zone. And any energy costs, electricity that is, and then the below the line items, the cost of performing the annual assessment, engineering, and Willdan Financial is who we utilize for that, and the actual levying of the assessments that's on the county tax bill. Keep in mind, this is a levy, this is not a tax, so it is below line 1, which is the property tax line. So a few things to include from a change standpoint. Zone 16 and 17 changes, keep in mind, and you all are aware of this from Measure W with respect to the parks. In Zone 17, it's Panorama Park. In Zone 16, it's Century Park. So effective 1 July of this year, so we're now in month 11, for each one of those zones, they are now funded, those parks are funded not by the general fund like they have been for the last 7 years. They are funded by Measure W, the maintenance of that, because DRD now operates and maintains and provides the services for those parks. However, the arterial streetlights are not under their domain, and so that's where we'd still do tie back to that 50-50 relationship between that and the general fund. So let's talk about, these next 4 slides are extracted not in the staff report itself, but from the preliminary engineer's report. So in this first slide, the good news is, because some of you have seen in previous presentations where we've been at districts with 0 or negative reserves. We have none of that this year. So we are clapping our hands and we're shouting into the rafters that we have no negative reserves or any zones that have 0 reserves. We only have 2, and we've had as many as 7 or 8 zones. We only have 2 zones that are at the maximum with respect to, because what happens with this every year is this is another one of those CPI things where the Consumer Price Index year over year, where there is the opportunity to increase the assessment. And so that assessment maximum gets increased on all 16 zones, but we only have 2 of them, and they're nominal fees. For Zone 8, the Barista, which is a very small LLD, and Mercy Housing across the street. So we only have 2 that are at the maximum versus the 7 or 8 that we have had at the height. So I learned from the previous presentation about leaving a little bit room for cream. So here on this one, we have a lot of room for cream. In La Posada, in this example, in La Posada, Zone 9, we're actually reducing this puppy by $125 per unit per dwelling unit on the levy. And part of this reduction, and in the next slide, part of the increases, we're trying to maximize the reserves that we're supposed to have. And I'll talk a little bit about the reserves in a moment. Landau Homes Zone 15, we're reducing that one by $67 plus per unit, per dwelling unit. Because in both examples, we have good reserves, strong reserves, so we're using some of those reserves and we're bringing them down so that we don't have to levy the homeowners as much as they've had in this past year. We do have 3 examples where we are increasing based on work that was done this year and/or work that is planned with the Public Maintenance Division for next year. In Zone 2, La Paloma, Zone 5, Tapestry, and Century Park. Keep in mind, this is the perimeter of Century Park. This is not the park itself. And there's a lot of work that gets done with the perimeter of Century Park. So what you see there before you are the increases for those 3 respective zones. So tied to the annual process that we have, what we have before you tonight is step 1, where we have 3 resolutions before you to initiate the proceedings, then also the resolution for the intent to levy, and then the resolution that presents the preliminary engineer's report, all 3 of which were attached to your staff, in your agenda packet to the staff report. Assuming all goes well this evening and we move forward, we will be back to you in 4 weeks with step 2 to the council meeting, where we will have a public hearing and order the collection of the assessments, and that will be the first resolution tied to that public hearing. And then the second resolution is the actual approval of the final engineer's report. Let's talk a little bit about the budget. So keep in mind, we're now entering year 2 come July 1st of our biennial budget. So last year, we had a budget for year 1 and a budget for year 2. So this is an example as a result of, based on the analysis we do now, we may have an impact to the year 2 budget, and we do. So that's where we talk about this in these next couple of slides. So the maintenance costs are estimated to be just under $400,000, along with the assessment engineering and admin collection, the below-the-line costs that I talked about earlier. So that gets us to about $465,000. When you then take out the general fund's contribution for the arterial streetlights, that gets us down to about $450,000. Then when you look in the engineer's report and you look at all the reserves that we have, the reserve contribution, we get down another $115,000. So in the end, for those over 3,800 parcels or over 4,100 equivalent dwelling units, we're looking at a balance to levy of only $334,000, which is good news because we're not going to be levying as much as we thought we were going to levy in this next year. So that leads to this next slide. In the first column, what you see both from a revenues, that's the levies, money coming in the door for us to be able to pay these bills. We originally budgeted almost $373,000 with expenditures of $468,000. Based on the preliminary engineer's report you have before you this evening, the engineer's estimate budget is just a little bit over $350,000, and the expenditures are almost $466,000. So in the end, we will be processing, assuming all goes well after the June 10th meeting, we will be processing budget adjustments in the new fiscal year of a reduction in revenues of $21,000 and a reduction in expenditures of $2,500. This supports the strategic plan goal C for the Financial Services Department, fiscal stability and sustainability. So what you have before you this evening with respect to a recommendation is to adopt these 3 resolutions, the initiation, the intention, and the preliminary engineer's report. And if you make it that far, then we will proceed to the final budget approval in 4 weeks from now. Any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Council, do we have any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none? Oh, you do? No. Seeing none, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
We have none, Mayor.
Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll return it back to council. As was outlined, there are 3 resolutions. I'm told we can do that all in one motion if that is at the pleasure of the council. The resolutions are contained in your staff report, and as shared, they have to do with initiating these proceedings, your intent to levy, and your approval of the engineer's report. What would you like to do, council? Do we have a motion to approve all 3?
I move to approve all 3.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Okay. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
All right, we're moving right along. The next item, item 5B, is the first reading of an ordinance to add Chapter 11.21 of Title 11 of the Cathedral City Municipal Code to prohibit and regulate fireworks within the city. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So Justin Gardner has the final act this evening, and this is an important presentation as this restores the city's prohibition on fireworks and as well allows the city to issue citations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Justin.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. My name is Justin Gardner, and I am the Code Compliance Manager, and we are going to go out with a bang. Thanks, I've been here all night.
Dad jokes, A+ today.
All right. A little bit of a background here. Fireworks present a significant health, safety, and welfare concern to our community and residents of Cathedral City, and they divert precious resources from police, fire, and code compliance. Fireworks are currently regulated through Section 8.12.060, which adopts Fire Code Section 5614, which prohibits all manufacture, sale, possession, storage, handling, and use of all fireworks. The municipal code currently does not contain a dedicated fireworks chapter that clearly addresses responsible person liability, administrative fines, nuisance abatement, cost recovery, or supplemental civil, administrative, and criminal remedies. Unfortunately, our provisions that handled all of that were repealed once the Safe and Sane chapter was repealed. It repealed all of those mechanisms with it. So we're basically just reintroducing and bringing that back to the table to allow better enforcement. The proposed ordinance does not create new authorization for fireworks. Rather, it strengthened the city's ability to enforce what's already existing. And it establishes definitions and enforcement authority of a responsible person. This will allow code compliance officers as well as our police department or other authorized personnel to write citations directly to property owners for allowing the possession or use of any type of firework on their property, elevating it from what we had available to us last year, which was only the ability for the police department to enforce under the health and safety code. We are now going to be able to enforce under our own municipal code. This ordinance also declares all fireworks a public nuisance and authorizes city compliance actions as a deterrence against fireworks and firework violations. Property owners, again, may be held responsible for those firework violations that occur on their property. There should be no fiscal impact to the city with the introduction of this resolution. The goal of this adoption is to continue to support police, fire, and code compliance engagement with the community to deter the sale, possession, or use of any fireworks within the city. And the adoption of this ordinance will allow it to be effective July 4th, 2026. So by introducing this first reading and hopefully getting past that second reading, code compliance and police will be able to work together again this year for a stronger enforcement. So the recommendation from staff is to introduce and waive further reading of the ordinance for the City Council, adding Chapter 11.21 to Title 11 of the Municipal Code to prohibit and regulate fireworks within the city and to strengthen our ability for enforcement, and that the adoption of this ordinance will not have any kind of impact to CEQA. With that, I'll leave it up to any questions for the council.
All right, thank you very much for that presentation. Council, do you have any questions? Comments?
Just a quick one.
Sure.
How do you define fireworks? And I remember, those little black things that you could light and all they do is grow a little bit. Is that considered a firework? Is anything that you put a match to considered a firework?
I don't have the language in front of me now, but I believe anything sold at the Safe and Sane facilities, anything that produces any type of reaction when fire is introduced to it would qualify for a firework.
So we should be able to outlaw cigarettes, huh?
You know, for the most part, I think we won on that one.
Thank you.
So just for clarification, the ordinance does define fireworks as the same meaning as set forth in Health and Safety Code, Section 12511, correct? So there is a definition. It's
There is a
not-
definition, I just don't have it in front of me.
Right, but it is defined already in state law. All right, thank you. Anything else? Are there any speaker cards on this item?
I have none, Mayor.
Is there any member of the public present that wishes to comment on this item? Then I will return it back to council to approve the introduce and waive further reading of this ordinance and find that the adoption of the ordinance is not a project under CEQA. Anyone want to make that motion?
Move to approve.
I knew you loved fireworks.
Second.
Not, so you wouldn't want to. A motion and a
Second.
second?
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Gutierrez and a second by Councilmember Gordon. Please vote. And motion carries, all ayes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you so much. All right, the next item on our agenda is discussion on
Mayor, I
any-
have to read the title
Oh,
of
yes,
that
I'm
ordinance.
sorry.
Thank you.
Please read the,
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cathedral City, California, adding Chapter 11.21 to the Title 11 of the Cathedral City Municipal Code to prohibit and regulate fireworks within the city.
thanks so much. All right, the next item on our agenda is discussion on any future agenda items. Anybody got anything burning, pressing? Okay,
I would like to ask the city manager to explore AB 1775, which is cannabis cafes, and we currently don't allow those in the city, and I'd like them to look into it, what that might look like for the cannabis businesses.
so are you looking for a study session to just kind of explore the
Yes.
whole topic? No-
Yes,
No
study
specific
session.
action? All right, I think I would be interested in that. Anyone
That'll be
else?
fine.
All right, looks like that's the consensus. Mr. City Manager, if you would please agendize that when ready.
Yes, Mayor, we'll put that together. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else? All right, we don't have any closed session tonight, so this meeting is adjourned.